This right here is the divine masculine's golden ticket out of these karmic loops. And so he has a chance this week to plant a real, solid, stable seed. There is a new beginning here, but it cannot be based on fantasy. It can't be based on chasing or control. It has to be based on genuine, earned self-leadership. And so he has a choice now. He can grow this into a 10 of Pentacles later on if he steps into that authentic action. And so divine feminine with the world reverse that came out for you this week, you are in the final contraction, I want to say, before completing this rebirth. And so you are being asked not to rush, not to force. There is a completion here, but you have to allow it to play out organically, and you need to trust that your cycle is closing, even if things feel messy or slow moving, because I do feel you are about to step into a whole new vibrational reality, one where your worthiness is assumed and no longer questioned. And the combined energy this week, I love it. We go from the ace to the 10. And so the bigger picture really is beginning to unfold. And even if the twins can't fully see it yet, together they are building a true foundation for this divine union. And so this isn't fantasy. This is not a karmic rerun, but this is something that can last generations if both of the twins align individually with their own soul work first. And so are you ready to lay this brick by brick? Because we got some powerful energies coming through in the astrology this week. Let's get into the reading, guys. Hit that like button and let's jump right in. Hey everyone, welcome in, welcome back. It is Laura, and we are going to talk about these twin flame energies for the week ahead. We don't have a lot of transits playing out this week, but the transits that are playing out are pretty significant. And so we do have Venus entering into Aries, and on the same day that Venus moves into Aries, we are going to have Pluto in a square to Lilith in the exact same degree and orb placement as that Mars opposite Pluto energy that played out on the weekend. And then we are going to have on Friday Venus and Aries in a conjunction to Neptune and Aries, and we're going to close off the week on Sunday with Pluto stationing retrograde at 3 degrees 49, which I think is huge, connected to the Empress energy and the 9 of Cups. So let's break it down with all of these major energetic shifts playing out for the week ahead, because we are moving from those emotional depths of the late degree Piscean energies to the early degree Aries. And this is bold, this is assertive, and it is connected to love energy, especially with Venus entering into Aries. And so I think we got some pretty heavy Plutonian and Lilith tension there happening. There's a lot of karmic shadow work. There's going to be some triggers without a doubt, and this is all going to be surfacing at the same time. And so alchemy is key in the energies this week, because we're going to have to face all of those hidden desires, the hidden fears. There's a bold new beginning in love here as Venus enters into Aries and it conjuncts Neptune, and we're kind of revisiting all of these old power struggle dynamics and wounds. And so this is all connected to that Pluto retrograde. Pluto's going to be retrograde for 5 months. And so what is it that you really want? This is going to bring forward that clarity about what the heart really wants. And so this week is going to feel like an energetic bridge between dream and action, and there's spiritual alchemy in motion is how I was asked to channel these energies. And so let's talk about these key astrology transits with the twin flame in focus, and then we will break it down for the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So April 30th is when Venus enters into Aries. That's that new love energy. That is that passionate, fearless, maybe a little bit impulsive energy. And with the Pluto in Aquarius square Lilith in Scorpio at 3 degrees 48, this is karmic triggers. This is power and control dynamics and struggles, and all of this past life wounding surfacing, especially around betrayal, sexuality, and shadow attachments. And so on May the 2nd, we do have Venus in a conjunction to Aries at 1 degrees. And so this is where idealistic love meets that new action. And so fantasy is going to be met with some courage, I feel. And there's going to be a highlighting of illusions that are going to need piercing, right? When it comes to piercing the veil. And so May the 4th be with you on Sunday, because Pluto is going to be stationing retrograde, like I said, in Aquarius at 3 degrees 49. This, I want to say, is deep inner excavation. And I know excavation begins this week for my basement renovations. As you can tell, there's a little bit of an echo here. Everything is becoming bare and sparse, and I'm going to have to completely empty this room probably by midweek. So I'm not sure how I'll be presenting the messages later on this week, and we will go into depth with all of these transits as they play out throughout the week. But I do feel when Pluto goes retrograde, themes of liberation are going to be really loud for the twins. There's going to be soul contract revelations. There's going to be karmic clearing. This is going to be intense. And the Empress and the Nine of Cups, this is knowing what true abundance and emotional fulfillment actually feels like for you, Divine Feminine. And so there's going to be a lot of internal reflection. And on the other side of this Pluto retrograde, I do feel we are going to be manifesting that abundance and that emotional fulfillment. And so Divine Feminine, this week is activating boldness. It's activating independence. It's activating you reclaiming your personal power in love. And so you're going to feel this sudden urge to lead or initiate. You need to stay heart-centered. That was a big message. You need to stay heart-centered, and you cannot play into impatient energies. Aries can be a little bit impatient, a little bit impish at times. And with Pluto square Lilith, there's going to be some shadow healing, I feel, around trust issues. Sexual sovereignty was another message, and all of these past betrayals from past life timelines and things that have repeated in cycles again this lifetime. And so this is really going to stir up all of those old wounds. So you're going to want to stay grounded, Divine Feminine. With Venus conjunct Neptune, I do feel there's going to be huge, huge, huge romantic downloads for you. Higher heart activations. Beware of putting the Divine Masculine on a pedestal, okay? Because you do have to take a look at this person at face value in the third dimensional reality that we are in. Because when you look at them for what they actually are, they're going to get knocked down off of that pedestal, right? You don't want to slip into fantasy connected to the Divine Masculine this week because of the Neptunian energies. And with Pluto retrograde, there's going to be deep, deep soul retrieval. So look to the house where Pluto is transiting in your own personal birth chart. If you don't know how to read your own personal birth chart, I do have a quick free guide that you can download. Comment down below, free guide, and I will send you the link to download the free astrology guide to understand your birth chart and your blueprint a little bit better. If you'd like to go even further and book in an astrology chart reading with me, then go check out the links below to hook you up to my webpage. But I do feel the Divine Feminine is going to be called into this inner awareness, this inner reassessment during Pluto retrograde. And what does sacred union really mean to you now after everything that you have gone through and transmuted and healed on your personal journey? And so are you still chasing that fantasy, or are you ready for that real embodied love to be grounded in? And I think the main advice that came through for the Divine Feminine Collective was stay rooted. Stay rooted in your own self-love and your own personal power. Yes, you can take that inspired action, but you have to stay detached from any type of outcome. Allow the illusions to dissolve this week. Divine Masculine, I do feel you're going to feel this push to move forward. I do feel you want to pursue the Divine Feminine or initiate some type of reconnection. However, some of the Divine Masculines may still be wrestling with that fear of vulnerability or even possibly rejection, or still be wrestling in that karmic soul contract. The Pluto square Lilith energy, I do feel, is really going to hit the Divine Masculine super hard this week, where they're going to be forced to confront all of their inner wounds around control, power, abandonment, and all of this suppressed sexuality. And there's going to be all these inner demons surfacing, I feel, for the Divine Masculine. The Venus conjunct Neptune, I feel, is where The divine masculine is dreaming of the feminine and feeling that deep spiritual love between the counterparts, but there's going to be a lot of confusion, I feel. And a lot of the divine masculines are going to feel a little bit lost this week or overwhelmed by the intensity of the soul recognition and this connection at large. And then with Pluto retrograde, the divine masculines are going to be going through a period of soul reckoning. I feel these cosmic energies are initiating this soul reckoning where the divine masculines are going to be forced to go inward to face where they have been inauthentic so they can come out of this retrograde as their authentic selves. They're going to be stripped of all of these ego defenses in order to heal that distorted masculine energy. That's going to be a major theme this week, especially with that Pluto retrograde over the next 5 months. And the advice for the divine masculine was let the illusions of control and fear fall away. Trust in the connection that your soul is actually feeling. Do not let the logical mind lead you astray, divine masculine, because if the mind is resisting, that is when you really need to drop into the heart. And so keywords for this week is bold love moves, karmic healing, power shifts, soul retrieval, and emotional purification. And so we are going to go a little bit further with the tarot cards. If you are ready to dig deep into your twin flame journey, I do have a 22-page twin flame ebook guide to help you kind of master the stages and the phases like a pro. If you would like to learn more about the twin flame journey and my experience of the twin flame journey and mastering it like a pro, comment twin flame guide below. But let's jump in with some cards and let's see what the cards have to say for the week ahead. Let's get into this spread because I do feel the main theme coming through with the cards this week is speaking of breaking these old cycles and choosing the soul over the wound. And so let's talk about the oracle cards that did come out. And so for the divine masculine, we do have the leadership card that came out. Interesting, it says vote today on the card. And in Canada, it is actually the federal election happening today. It's a 29 card. And this is speaking of person of authority. And so the divine masculine really is being called into self-leadership this week. Personal authority, right? 29 is a karmic debt number. And so this is a clear indication that the masculine is closing out these old karmic cycles, especially around, I want to say, external validation and possibly even some passive behavior. And so the leadership energy right now, I have to say, is internal. It's not about controlling others, okay? That's what's coming through for the masculine for this week. Divine Feminine. We got the addictions card. It's a 7 card, and so there is an energy, I want to say, of moving forward. I always feel the chariot energy connected to the 7s. All of the 7s in the tarot can mean confusion, illusion. You think of the 7 of Cups, the 7 of Swords, the 7 of Pentacles, and the 7 of Wands. And so I do feel you could be facing emotional addictions this week, or maybe having to look at your coping mechanisms that stem from childhood abandonment or fear. But I do feel you are moving towards divine truth and spiritual liberation, because the card does say reactive behaviors and reclaiming your power. And so you are being protected even as you clear all of these reactive patterns this week. And so 2 cards did come out. 2 cards did come out for the combined energies of the connection, and the first card out was the longing for love card. And so as you can see on the card, we see a feminine walking away with the masculine and another masculine left behind. So I don't know if you were in a third party situation, Divine Feminine, where maybe you had two masculines to choose from. There's an energy of judgment coming through, I feel, with it being a 20 card, and it does say loneliness on the card. And so I do feel both of the twins are feeling a sense of loneliness and deep soul longing. And then we got the service card, and there's like a 3 of Cups energy, but it says bringing value. And so fulfillment will not just come from romance, right? But it does come from being of service to others when we use the journey for this collective healing, right? And so I do feel the twins are in a cycle shift, is what it feels like, because the bottom of the deck was relationship repeat, and it's a 21 card. And so there's an energy of the world coming through, right? And closing out cycles. It says shift, release, or enjoy. And so I do feel we are cycling out of these past relationship patterns connected to abandonment, fear, overgiving, and control. All of this is being released this week. And so there is potential here to move from survival-based love patterns into joyful, soul-based connections, okay? But it wasn't the greatest tarot spread that came out for the twins this week, but we will break it down. And let's start with the masculine. He's the top row. And the first card out for the masculine was the Star in reversed. And so I do feel this is deeply connected to Pluto and Aquarius going retrograde. This is the divine masculine's current heart and headspace, where I do think he's feeling a little bit disillusioned, a little bit disconnected from hope, right? Because the Star upright represents hope, represents healing, represents wishes being granted. So this is clearly telling me this week that healing is needed, especially around trusting in the divine plan for the divine masculine. And so the greatest challenge this week for him is the Palace of Wands. And so this is the divine masculine's challenge, is holding that vision and believing in his worth to build that passionate, authentic life, right? Because this is like the Ace of Wands on steroids. And so the next card out for the masculine is the Ace of Coins, and this is his hidden strength this week. This is the divine masculine's spiritual power. And so despite all of this uncertainty, he is planting that new seed, right? And we did have that new moon in Taurus, which was all about planting that new seed on the weekend. And so this is indicating a stable new beginning is available, but he does have to choose being the hero of his own life. I always feel like Superman energy on this card, but he's going to also have to choose grounded action over fantasy. So the 3 of Pentacles came out next. And so this is really what he is healing, I feel, what he is releasing. And so he is healing issues around collaboration, right? We see the Mars in Capricorn energy, and we see a single masculine on the card. And we did close out the Pluto in Capricorn energy. We went through that for about 15, 16 years. And this is healing issues surrounding collaboration, surrounding partnership, and feeling supported. And so all of these old wounds coming up where the masculine feels like, hey, I got to do it all alone. I do feel this is being cleared, and the energy he is moving away from by the end of the week, I love it. It is this Queen of Cups in reverse. And so he's moving away, I feel, from a feminine energy who embodies emotional manipulation, very codependent, feminine energy. This could even be emotional repression connected to his own inner feminine energy. But I do think he's learning to trust and honor his real feelings rather than suppress them. But I also feel he could be releasing an external feminine energy that has weaponized the masculine's emotions against him. And it could be a Pisces. I do feel Piscean energy coming through on that card, because if you look at the card, there is the Pisces necklace energy coming through. And so Divine Feminine, your current mindset, your current heart set this week is the 10 of Wands. And this is you releasing this burden of exhaustion, right? And I get it. I have been so triggered with the Mars opposite Pluto energy of feeling like I've carried so much. I carry so much responsibility in my day-to-day life, emotionally, financially, and it feels like a burden at times. It can be utterly emotionally and physically exhausting, and there's anger attached to that. So I feel you're definitely frustrated with how much you have had to take on for healing on this journey connected to both of you. It's like you have carried the weight of this connection for so long, maybe even for the past 10 years, right? Because there's 10 wands there. But this is you, I feel, releasing that burden of exhaustion. The next card out is the Empress in reverse, and this is going to be your greatest challenge this week. This is feeling heavy. Divine Feminine, your challenge is self-worth this week and receiving. And boy, I'm feeling that one at the core. And so you are learning this week, Divine Feminine, that true abundance comes from allowing, not chasing and not proving. And so healing that self-worth wound, healing that ability to receive, because many of the Divine Feminines were givers, right? We know how to give. We know how to give to depleting ourselves. And now we have to learn to receive. We have to be able to only give from an overflow of our inner cup. And so your hidden strength this week, I thought was a little bit interesting. This is your spiritual power. We get the world reversed. So I think although you're feeling maybe a little bit stuck, you are at the very end of a major soul cycle. And so completion, I want to say, is the hidden gift, as long as you don't rush or resist. And so there's the Saturnian theme coming through here. And we still have quite a bit of fixed energy playing out in squares and oppositions, and it's going to be a little tense, right? But that new beginning is right here. This is also saying something hasn't fully reached completion, and it might be dealing with addictive, reactive behaviors here, but you are learning to reclaim back your power, because there is a cycle here coming to a close, okay? And so this is what you're healing. This is what you are releasing this week. And it's the Four of Swords in reverse. And so whether you're feeling stuck or not, you are breaking free from stagnancy, almost like a breaking free of emotional numbness. So rest and reflection has done its job, has done its work for you. And now this is about a gentle, conscious reawakening. I want to say reawakening. And the energy you're moving away from by the end of the week is the Palace of Swords in reversed. So you're moving out of this mental over-analyzing energy. You're moving through self-sabotaging, fear-driven thoughts, and you are learning to think with both your heart and your mind. But I also feel you're moving away from anything that is an illusion, right? Anything that's a lie, anything that's illusion. That is what you are moving away from by the end of the week as we go into May the 4th and Pluto stationing retrograde, okay? And so the combined energy is the bottom of the deck, and the first card out is this 10 of coins. And so this is legacy. This is the overall vibration of the connection as we go into the week. And this is long-term soul foundation. That is really what is being woven. A new legacy. This is connected to Virgo energy. And I do feel this is connected to the sweeping up of the karmic debris with the South Node in Virgo connected to the twins. So really pay attention to the Virgo energy in your birth chart. But I do feel this is all about stability. This is all about legacy, family. It's going to require patience, and it's going to require right action. And so the primary block in the shadow energy coming through for both of the twins this week is the Lovers reversed. So there is still disharmony connected to the misaligned choices. And I do feel there could be fear of intimacy on one or both parts. And so there is still wounding around that misaligned choice or choosing the wrong lover. And there is a need to surrender to this vulnerability of this connection. And that is the energy of the twins, right? The lovers. And so the soul lesson being integrated for both of the counterparts is the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So both of the counterparts are healing self-worth wounds and moving beyond codependencies, right? Because the Queen of Coins in reverse is very codependent, very ungrounded. She doesn't know her worth. She doesn't know her value, and she's very codependent. And so learning to nurture yourself first, that is what is being integrated. That is the soul lesson this week. The external influence is the Ten of Cups in reverse. I feel broken dreams. I feel disillusionment around that happily ever after, right? And so the outside forces can be family, can be old relationships, can be collective fear, even stirring up tension in the connection. But there is a triggering fear, I feel, of like, oh my God, this is never, ever going to happen. And so the potential shift, the potential outcome for the end of the week, breaking that stalemate. We get the Two of Swords and the Knight of Wands in reversed. And so there's the breaking of the stalemate, but only if both the divine feminine and the divine masculine slow down and stop reacting impulsively and make those conscious choices from the heart instead of the ego or that fear-based energy. And so I do feel blocks are being removed, but it's going to require heart-centered action. Let's talk about the bottom of the deck. We got the Hierophant reversed out with the Four of Wands. We got the Hermit in reverse, so Taurus, Virgo, Aries energy. We got the Tree of Life in reverse, which to me is indicating some type of blocked life force. And then the Ten of Swords in reverse. And then we went one step further with the Ace of Wands. And so I kind of feel this is about breaking free from the outdated spiritual beliefs and the outdated spiritual contracts, right? We're here to break the mold here. And then the Four of Wands, there is a new soul celebration. This is a union portal. It's here, right? The union portal is active, but only after releasing the old patterns, the old paradigms, and it's kind of time to come out of spiritual isolation. Right? We go into the Hermit energy to do that real soul work, to go into the shadowy aspects, to shine a light on our hidden aspects. And it's kind of time to come out of spiritual isolation, I feel. And this really is like a big, loud, hey, it's time to reconnect to true divine alignment. That's really what is needed here in order to clear that blocked life force energy. And this is the end of suffering, right? The worst has already happened. The separation has already ensued. And so this really is not the end of the story. It really is the start of deeper healing as the twins come together, because ultimately there is a powerful new beginning being ignited this week, but it ignites deep within the soul first, okay? So let's get one closing message for the twins with the Power of Love Oracle deck, and let's see what the closing message is. And so bottom of the deck, responsibility. It says you are aware of the power of your thoughts and the amount of love you express. And so evolution, I want to say, around responsibility. And so we got a few fall out. I'm only going to take the ones that flipped upright. Oh, I love it. Look at on the bottom of the deck, purpose. This is about finding the determination to go towards dedicated consistency, consciously demonstrating love. And so we got a release. We've got a message of release. Give all of these unwanted energies and thoughts and give them up to the loving forces of the universe. Definitely an energy of surrender and priorities. It's time to get your priorities in check. Understand the paramount importance of manifesting love in all situations. And so I do think a week of releasing, I do think a week of inspiration, a week of mysteries and tapping into the Akashic records. There is a shift connected to priorities. And so what is it that you need to release in order to fully step into demonstrating love within this union, within this connection? That's what I got for the week ahead, guys. If you would like to book in for a twin soul reading or personal birth chart reading, check out the links below for the webpage. I hope you all have a great week ahead, and I will see you all next time.